You are now listening to Awaken You with Shelly Bond. Welcome to my show where we explore ourselves. We talk about growth, healing, breath, life, yoga, failures and successes, intuition, inspiration, fears, manifestation, books, writing, motivation, food, parenting, inner child work, mindfulness. What are your thoughts? My love for healing with energy work, learning how to love myself, forgive myself, and know my own self-worth. I have a deep well inside to hold space and connect with women. And I have learned that awakening is for us all, especially for those of us who think that it's not. Waking up to our life's flaws and all is possible because, my friends, life is a practice. It's not a perfect. Hello, my lovelies. Welcome to a brand new episode of Awaken You with Shelly Bond. I'm here showing up once again. What are we on? Week 10. Week 10. It's very exciting. I'm feeling extra pumped. I actually got to be on one of my soul sisters podcasts and just got done with that. And it was yet again another confirmation of just being here, showing up, doing the things that I'm doing. And even though my life in moments feels off or things aren't going the way I want them to, that I'm still here freaking showing up. And it was really amazing to delve into my book. Right. So I published this amazing book, which this is the new cover. If you are looking and watching this, my beautiful other soul sister, we added some more watercolor and I'm feeling freaking just like giddy about how it looks. And I guess today's episode, I want to do a book club on my book. Hello, book club on Awaken You. And I wrote this lovely book, From Pain to Healing, A Woman's Way of Waking Up to Her Life. At first, when I wrote this book, it was like this essential piece of helping me heal from the shit that's been bogging me down and holding me back. And over the many years of writing this book and all of the drafts and blah, all of the things, is that it has been this incredible piece of my healing journey is writing, which is something so funny. One of my self-limiting beliefs always was I am not smart enough. And I really had to combat that with affirmations and gratitude, many practices I put here in this book. I had to teach myself to know that I had value and worth in my experiences and that we don't always have to be head smart. We can be heart smart people. Like my daughter who struggles with many learning disabilities, and she has an IQ of 71 where it makes it hard for her to learn and absorb information. And something I actually share in my book is that I never knew much about IQs. So maybe we know people like Albert Einstein had a genius IQ. And I'm not sure exactly, maybe like 130 to 160. An average IQ is about 100. And then there's an intellectual disability that starts at a 70. And my daughter has an IQ of 71, so she's a borderline. And she has been a great freaking teacher of mine to show me that it doesn't matter the amount of information we can absorb or not absorb, or what we can learn, or how many tests we can fail, that like it is our emotional freaking intelligence that matters. And it's interesting because my daughter has dyslexia and I always struggled with reading. It was really hard, and still today. There's words that just come and get jumbled up. And it's just a noticing that my whole childhood educational career, I was dyslexic, but never had the help or the tools to help me overcome it. But I've learned myself. And I wanted to bring up the title of my book, Awaken You. And what does that mean? And it is giving us permission to be who we are, authentically, vulnerably as ourselves. That we don't have to wait for people to say and do the things that we want them to say and do. That we can take back the control or the power, or call it whatever you want, that we can take the reins on our own life. And I freaking love books with parts. And when I was in the editing process of this book, I was going back and forth about having 3 parts or 6 parts. And I came down with 4 essential pieces of awakening you. And the first part is breath. And it's waking up to breath. And each chapter in this book was kind of replaced with the practice of waking up to. And the whole first part is an essential piece of awakening to who we are, is allowing ourselves permission to freaking breathe, to stop what it is we are doing. Because crazy, we have an average of anywhere from 40 to 70,000 thoughts a day. A day. That's so many thoughts. Like, think of it for a moment. When you're listening to this podcast, how many thoughts are streaming in of what I'm saying? When you're going to the bathroom, how many thoughts are streaming in? They're just going rampant. Breath is a way to help us detach from those tens of thousands of thoughts a day. And it, my friends, is as simple as breathing with awareness in and then exhaling, giving yourself permission to breathe. And knowing, my sisters, that breath is one of our most powerful forces, right? What? Who knew? Oops, I'm having a little movement. But that if we can breathe, we can help ourselves slow our thoughts. And for all the right side of the brain analytical thinkers, that breath detaches us from the thoughts, right? It brings us closer to our heart self, and it helps reduce stress and tension, anxiety, and overwhelm. Why don't you just with me take a moment, take a breath in through the nose, exhale. Notice when you're feeling tense and tight, what is the first thing you do? Mostly we hold, we squeeze everything in. We're holding our breath, and then everything gets exacerbated and So if we can bring awareness to our breath, right? One of the most easiest, accessible things that we have. And everything I have written in my book is things that you have access to now. You don't have to go to a store. You don't have to wait for tomorrow or next week or next month or next year or when you go on the vacation. You can access all of these self-help tools within yourself, right? So breath. And this part about breath, I really delve into very vulnerable stories and experiences about myself. When I first wrote this, it was more set up like a self-help book. And then I really wanted to connect my story into my experiences and how it helped me change and grow and awaken to my life. Because to me, awakening is something that is possible for us all. Awakening isn't something we have to wait the 20 million meditation practices to do, which I used to think that in awakening or enlightenment was only for the chosen ones. Well, I am here to say that we are all a chosen one. You are unique just the freaking way that you are. And you don't have to wait to do the things that you've always wanted to do. And a simple practice that you can start today to help you awakening to the bright, amazing being that you are is breathe. Breathe your breath, breathe it in, exhale it out. And even many of my great teachers and spiritual mentors like Eckhart Tolle, Deepak Chopra, Jacob Lieberman, Louise Hay, Wayne Dyer, all like people that have impacted me so much, know the truth behind breath. That breath, it helps us disconnect from all the fear and everything. And like Marianne Williamson and Gabrielle Berenstein, they teach both, they're different, but they teach on the aspect of love and right, separating from the fear and bringing us closer to love. And with the help of breath work, we can bring ourselves closer to love, right? And we can move a little bit further away from the fear. And I'm trying to think of the most like scariest story that I shared in my book, which is a lot of them, honestly. I have been recording the audiobook and my book is going to be available on Audible. But practice 2, the practice, I think it's of waking up to self-compassion. And I share the story about my son Jack severing his thumb in the door. Well, my husband and I were going upstairs for an afternoon quickie, and it is a really great story. It's very vivid. It has all of the gory details and all of the guilt that I was experiencing. And it's interesting, like looking back at that. I never thought in a million years I would write that and share it, much less put it in a freaking book and publish it for the world to see and read. But I did. And what I learned from this experience was that I can't always blame myself for everything that's happening in the world. And right, that things aren't happening to me, they're happening for me. Just like I'm upstairs with my husband, and just prior to that, my kids were playing. They were like crafting these magnet tiles, building like towers and cars and jewelry boxes, and they were fine. And right, in a matter of minutes, the energy shifted and I could just hear this blood curdling shrill. And I could feel it in my bones that something was off. And I was naked and I couldn't find any clothes. And I run down the freaking stairs to seeing a massacre of blood all over the walls and the door and the floor. And my little tiny baby, I think he was 3. And then my 5-year-old, 3, 4, 5, and then 7-year-old just like huddled up and bawling in blood. And then immediately like the guilt of, oh my God, you're a terrible mom, Shelly. What the fuck were you doing? You decided to have sex with your husband and then your son is injured. And it was just one of those experiences where it happened in slow motion. And there was nothing I could do to take away his pain because he slammed his right right thumb in the door. And all I could see was this like flow of blood. And what had happened is he severed the whole front portion and it was sliced. Like a sever is, it was almost cut off. And it was only attached by this back chubby thumbprint part, which is where the essential nerve endings connect. Lucky ducky. And yeah, I had to just be with all of it and take him to the ER and have it sutured up. But of course, I didn't tell the ER people what I was doing before. And it was just like this test of myself and giving compassion to myself. And compassion to ourselves is something we're not taught. We always give compassion to others, especially as women and moms. We're always just like dishing it out, helping everyone, problem solving. Oh, I'm so sorry you're feeling like that. But what about ourselves? Like in this experience, I learned that I have to give compassion to myself for what I am experiencing, and that there's nothing wrong with this moment, even when it feels chaotic and awry and we question why. That we just have to show up as the moment presents itself. And after Jackie was sutured up and we found out he had a crushed phalange, fingertip, thumb tip. I don't know if that one's a phalange. I know your fingers are your phalanges. I'm thinking of Phoebe from Friends when she was like, phalange. And yeah, it was just this moment of like surrender and just show up and love your baby. Because in moments like that, the only thing we can really do is offer love and compassion. And in turn, I had to flip that around on myself because after Jackie was all healed up for like years after, I held this guilt that every time my husband and I would have sex, that I would clench up, hoping it was over because I was waiting for something bad to happen. It was like PTSD, which is something that's so interesting because people think that only somebody who has experienced like a war or something very traumatic has PTSD. But I guess that is very traumatic. So I think that all of us have PTSD, post traumatic shock, right? Post traumatic shock disorder, post traumatic syndrome disorder, one of the two. You know what I'm talking about. That we all have that. We all have these experiences that happen and then they get locked in our emotional state. And then they impact us day to day. Jack just turned 8, and this was when he was 3, so many moons ago. And he still is triggered by anything with his fingers. He won't let me cut his nails. It's like I'm torturing him if I try to cut his nails. So I just finally have given up, and he has like scaggly, gross nails. But it's like one of those things that you can choose to like battle with or just freaking let it be. So I let it be. And I think the biggest lesson that I learned from this is that I had to turn compassion on myself. And I think I'm much better. I am much better when my husband and I have sex, that I'm not like waiting for something to happen. However, my husband always seems to want to have sex when our kids are awake, and I don't like that. I want my kids to be asleep and safe. Yeah, it's just one of those things. And so part two in my book is about love, all about love, right? It's like the Beatles song, all you need is love. Is that the right rhythm? That I think we are really good at loving other people, right? Especially as moms. We're so good at loving our kids and our spouses and our family. But what about us? Again, a mirror. So this chapter or practice part in my book, part 2 with love, is all about learning how to love ourselves. Because as women, we were never taught to love ourselves. We were never taught to give ourselves compassion. But it's here. Like we have to learn to love ourselves for the very first time. Maybe when we were little girls, we loved ourselves, but maybe we didn't. Maybe we never knew. So I say in my book, it's like learning or unlearning, whatever resonates with you. And unlearning isn't taking away who you are as a person. Unlearning is like stripping away the judgment and what we think we need to be doing and relearning new ways of treating ourselves. And kind of backing up to that compassion piece is I just invite you permission to give yourself like the same love and compassion that you give like your closest girlfriends or soul sisters or even your kids. Sometimes our kids we kind of snap at, so maybe someone that you just like love and adore and respect. I encourage you that when you're struggling, that when your inner critic is coming in and saying all the freaking mean things to you, that you have that inner heart talk, maybe put a hand on your heart. An act of self-compassion, a self-love is crossing your arms, giving yourself a hug. And right, we see it all the time, and we probably do it and we don't even realize it subconsciously. We cross our arms, or you see people who look really stiff crossing their arms. It's because they feel uncomfortable and they're comforting themselves. And when you actually hug yourself or cross your arms, it simulates oxytocin, which is the love hormone. And our body doesn't know if it's coming from us or someone else. But when you hug yourself, when you say those things, when you say, I know it's hard what you're going through. I know that this is so hard and you're struggling, but it is okay. It's going to be okay. You can do this. And also, I learned from Kristen Neff, PhD, who wrote Compassion or Self-Compassion and Fierce Self-Compassion, that having this inner chat with ourselves, like having an inner self-compassion mantra, is really helpful. And also this connecting piece of knowing that we're only one of the 7 billion, not million, billion people on the planet. And there are millions of hundreds of millions of people of the past, present, and future who have experienced what you are experiencing, and that we are not alone in our experiences. And that it helps so much to know that we're not alone, right? I'm not alone. I'm sitting here, but I know I'm connecting with you, right? It is a game changer and a life changer. So I think of the whole second part of my book on loving yourself, I think if there's like one thing that you could do for yourself today is to give yourself love when you're struggling. Like have an inner talk, hug yourself, put a hand on your heart, give yourself love that you're giving everyone else, because I really believe that all of the love that we're looking for out there in things and experiences, we already have. We were born with it. We were born perfect, whole, and complete. But somewhere along the lines, we got tainted and we had these experiences that stuck and made it hard. So we are just relearning or unlearning, whatever resonates with you, how to love ourselves. And then another essential piece is part 3 in my book that's all about our thoughts and what we think. Because did you know that you can choose the thoughts that you want to think, right? You don't have to be stuck or cemented with that nasty, nagging voice just running across all the weird songs that come in. Like, I freaking hear my kids like, oh, O'Reilly Auto Parts. Like we are being subconsciously programmed constantly. That's why I think of our brains as like such a sacred place that we need to protect. And I would say be so mindful of the shows that you're watching, of what you're listening of to radio. I refuse to watch mainstream TV with commercials or even radio. If I want to listen to music, I will intentionally listen to what I want to. I will intentionally pick my Netflix show or Amazon because I don't need all of this extra blah, blah, blah running through my mind, right? And a simple practice that we can do to help realign our thoughts and our emotions is a gratitude practice. And by starting our mornings with a grateful mind, it transmutes into a grateful heart. It shifts your energy. It will change your freaking life. I am a testament to it that gratitude can help. So out of this practice, I would say that writing, I am so grateful for, or I am grateful for. And then write 11 what you are grateful for. First thing in the morning and right before bed. Like if there's anything you can do to change your life now, it's start a gratitude practice. And right, it takes 21 to 45 days to create a new habit. So, right, if you're waking up and grabbing your phone and checking your feed, right, that is a habit. So swap that with leaving your phone in the bathroom, leaving your phone in the kitchen or away from you. Think of it's me time before screen time. So swap that with a gratitude practice. And I strongly recommend getting a journal that you feel connected to, one that you feel and it gives you the good feelings. Because just writing on a scrap piece of paper, it doesn't have that same emotional attachment to it. So I always get a journal that I like flowery or colorful or tie-dyed or something with a quote that just makes me feel lit up is really helpful. And gratitude is a way to shift, it's a way to change and transform our lives. And it's really small. So, right, we had the first practice is breath, right? These are really accessible things. You can breathe, exhale. The second one is you can have compassion for yourself when you're struggling or you're really hard on yourself. The third one, right, is a gratitude practice, like being grateful for what is. And it's as simple as saying, I'm so grateful for you, bed. I'm so grateful for you, blankets. I'm so grateful to be alive today. You're freaking alive today. You woke up, you're breathing, you're alive. There's a lot to give gratitude for. And the last part of my book is waking up to live, like waking up to your life, not waiting again for that win, waiting for the vacation, waiting for your perfect moment in your mind, that you are given this moment and this experience because you need to face it. And I really believe that the universe gives us the same experiences, maybe with the same person or different people, over and over until we can learn how to grow and move through it. So if you are experiencing a lot of judgment around anything, like your perception of yourself or other people are judging you, I invite you to maybe tune in to how you're thinking. What are you thinking? Are you judging a lot? Because what we put out comes back to us, right? Are we judging? Are we feeling guilty and resentful and shameful inside? It's like we're planting the seeds of our emotional garden, and then energetically, it's going out. It's going out. And then the universe is giving us these experiences. Like I have this constant push and pull with my husband. And I know that our souls have been together many other lives. And I know that we're here to work through a lot of our shit. And in moments, I feel like, oh, we can do this. And in others, it takes me down hard. Like I had to learn during my awakening to be an honest person because I was raised on lies. It was like white lies and black lies, and then all of the colors of the rainbow in between. And white lies were like little bitty lies that weren't to hurt anyone's feelings, but they were lies. And then the black lies were like the big, nasty, mean lies. So I grew up believing and thinking that lying was the only way that people would love me and accept me. So I built my whole life on stories and lies and things. And during my awakening, I had this like inner calling that I needed to be honest, because I heard that like what we put out comes back to us. And I realized I was putting out so much negativity and toxicity, and it was just coming back to me. And even it was this small moment where my sisters and I were at our gym's pool, and they were like, oh, just sneak in the back of the gate. Like it was like $5 a person, and it was going to be $20 for me and my kids. And I think my past self would have been like, oh, yeah, sneak in. And my present self was like, no, be honest, pay the $20, be at the pool, show up, be an honest person. And I remember my sister thought I was so silly that I was doing that. And it was just like this step of honesty and integrity. And ever since that day, it's been, I'm trying to think of like 6 years that I've been on this like truth hunt, this truth, not even a hunt. I'm just like an honest person. And it feels so liberating and free. And I feel like a better person because I'm living from my authentic heart versus this like cloudy, distorted version of who I thought I used to be or who I thought I was supposed to be. And I've learned that honesty, it doesn't repel people, that speaking my truth won't push people away from me, that it actually brings all of the right people into my life. Like it really does. It's like, I'm like a magnet to people and experiences. And I would just encourage you that if you grew up or you're still the type of person who maybe just tells little lies here and there. Like I remember something was every time I would spend money, I would tell my husband half of what it was because he would freak out on me. And that was like a lie, a thing that I had to come to terms with, that things are this much money. And I think it was even just like in the past couple of years that I've been telling my husband how much things cost because it's not my fault that things cost that much. I don't need to have guilt or hold on to this like, I'm not worthy of spending money on myself because I'm worthy of it. And right, we have to like let go of our perceptions of the way that people are going to respond and react to us. So I've started telling my husband a small thing, telling him the truth of how much things cost because, right, we're living in this world and money is a thing. And it has again just brought me closer to living my life and embracing my authentic truth. And, right, that's just a thing. Like, how can we embrace our authentic truth? And I would say something that I didn't write in this book, but something I've been feeling called to share is that if you have an experience that has been holding you back or you replay it or it's really painful, I encourage you to write about it, to journal about it, write about it in descriptive terms, like write everything that comes to you, write the anger, say the cuss words, write it out. Because I have found how healing it is to write something. And if you are in a safe place, you can get a glass bowl with water in the bathroom and you can actually light it on fire. It's really liberating to write your yucky, painful stuff and then light that shit on fire and watch it burn. Even you can do this with like a fear burning practice. I've done several times. I've even done this with my daughter when she's struggling with school and having such a hard time with her inner bully. We'll write out all the mean things, go to the sink with a glass bowl because metal will get really hot. So be safe because fires are nothing to mess around with. And then just watch it burn. It's like this energetic and emotional release that's just like, it's amazing. It's amazing. I freaking love it. And I'm just so freaking grateful to be here and sharing this. And I wanted to read the back of my book to you that I worked really hard on. And this is the book blurb. So if you're interested and haven't picked up a coffee, you can get yourself a coffee and a copy. Speak us, Shelly. You can find it on Amazon under Awaken You, Shelly Bond. So here's my book reader. I worked hard on this. Okay. In Awaken You, yogi and storyteller Shelly Bond offers tangible ways of waking up to life. Part guide and part memoir, Shelly shares her journey of self-doubt to self-reflection and finally accepting love. With an authentic voice, she combats the inner critic as a way towards awakening to life, flaws and all. Inside this soulful guide are enlightened echoes of pain, loss, mending a broken marriage, parenting, acceptance, healing, compassion, forgiveness, and more. And these are two testimonials from lovely ladies who were amazing enough to share. Raw, vulnerable, with the power to transform. And that's from Sharada Eckhartson. And she is an experienced registered yoga teacher of 500 hours and also the co-founder of Omananda Yoga. And this one is from Sarah Maneras, who is a counselor, author, mentor, and founder of the We Spot. And Sarah says, Shelly is a dynamic writer who shares from a deep well of love and nurturing care for her readers. Her vulnerability is inspiring. The practices she provides in the book will undoubtedly help her readers awaken to themselves in a deep and transformative way. This book is a beautiful companion for anyone's personal growth journey. Thank you, Sarah. I love that. And then this was my little kind of bio thing I put together. But speaking sometimes, I get tongue-tied, especially when I'm excited. 8 years ago, Shelly Bond was stuck, anxious, and suffering from postpartum depression. Something had to change. She embarked on her journey towards healing and waking up to herself. Inside the trenches of life, she realized awakening is possible for all women. Here is her story: the mess, reflection, joy, and growth. Inside is her guide to help women awaken to breath, love, and life. Connect with Shelly weekly on her podcasts, Awaken You with Shelly Bond and Awaken You Healing Center with Shelly on YouTube, where she shares all of her loves. She is also the co-creator of Voices Rising Press at www.voicesrisingpress.com. And connect with her on Facebook and Instagram at Awaken You Shelly Bond. I love that. In moments, it's like, dang, I wrote that. It just shows that if you feel a calling or have a dream or a vision about something, that it can come true, that you just have to keep plugging away and you have to keep doing the steps, because the idea of writing a book can come, but it can just as easily float away as Glennon Doyle. No, was that Glennon Doyle? I'm trying to think of, no, Elizabeth Gilbert in Big Magic. She shares about like creative ideas are these things of the universe and they come to us. But if we don't take action, that they will go. And we've all heard those stories of like inventions, or even in Elizabeth Gilbert's book, she had this idea for a book and a plot and a storyline and all of these characters that was very like definitive. And life just happened. And I think her husband got deported, and it was just like years went by. And she met another writer and they connected, and they had this like moment of a kiss, a shared kiss on the cheek. And it was like the idea transferred to this other writer, and the other writer wrote the story, but they didn't know about each other's story. And the other writer had finished the story, and then they had shared like the shockingly similar details to the main character, the protagonist, the antagonist, the plot line and everything. And even like it was in I think the Amazon, not the Amazon. It was something just like very rare and unnatural. It was not unnatural, but whatever. And it was just like, what? And they both decided that idea had came to Elizabeth and then been transferred to her friend because she didn't take action. So what I'm saying is that you have to take it one day at a time, one thing at a time, because time will pass, like years will go. My daughter's freaking 12 years old. Like time will pass. Do the things. If you ever have like a calling to change your career, take steps, tangible things that you can do. Because after 14 years in the beauty industry, I lost my creative love for hair, and I felt this calling to help women do deeper work inside. And then I took a yoga teacher training, and then I became a Reiki practitioner, and then I kept writing and sharing. And it was like my hidden gifts and talentins, can I say that word? Gifts and talents were just like I turned them on, because I gave myself permission to change and do scary things. So who knows? Like, who knows if you never write the book? What will happen to you? Who knows if you never take this step or take the class or talk to the person about the thing that's hard? Who knows what will happen, right? This is one thing. It's funny. Today, one of my kids' spelling words is, I'm trying to think of it. What was it? Like the unknown. It's unknown. Their spelling word was unknown. And we say it, we spell it, and then we use it in a sentence. And it's like, we're all afraid to live a life of unknown, but the unknown allows us to step into the moment, because like control, anxiety likes to make us take control of our lives. But when we can let go and like do the things, show up for the signs that the universe is giving us, the unknown will give us a beautiful, lovely life. I'm so grateful for you, my sisters. Thank you for showing up here for episode 10. Like, this is amazing. It's funny because I've had so many different journeys with podcasting and just doing retreats with women and teaching yoga and practicing Reiki and making malas. And it's like all guided me and led me here to connecting with you. So please, my beautiful friends and sisters, subscribe, head over to iTunes and leave Awaken You with Shelly Bond a 5-star rating and a review. And please just let me know what you're loving, what you want more of, and find me on all of these lovely platforms on Instagram at Awaken You Shelly Bond. Find my book, Awaken You, Shelly Bond, on Amazon. And I just want to encourage you that you can do all of the things. You can be the person, the woman you've always wanted to be. And she starts here in your heart. She starts here in your mind, that you can change anything in your life that you are struggling with. Remembering back to you can breathe. Use your powerful force. Inhale it in. Soften on the exhale. Give yourself compassion. Treat yourself the way that you treat your sisters, the way you treat your friends. And that, my beautiful friends, that you can awaken to the thoughts that you want to think. You can choose what you want to think by starting a gratitude practice. It's as simple as writing, I am grateful for. I am grateful for, and repeat that 11 times in the morning and at night. You just start there. You have to start somewhere. You have to start here and now. Your awakening begins. I love you. I'm sending you a warm hug, and I will be back here next week hanging out with you. I love you, my sisters.